Warning! This episode contains foul language and might make you think twice about your favorite hand-me-downs.
Hey Weirdos! You are listening to Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange, unusual, paranormal, supernatural, creepy, sticky, gross, scary, and everything in between. Each week we sit down with a very special guest and we talk about something weird. But this week, still safely recording remotely at home, we're chatting just the two of us, and we're talking about strange objects, spooky trinkets, demonic knickknacks, cursed possessions, haunted tchotchkes, whatever you want to call them. We are talking about Thangs from around the world that are not living or breathing, but just might hold some sort of bizarre power. Let's go antiquing and see what gems we can find. My name is Lauren, and this is my co-host, Ashley.
Hi, Weirdos.
Did you like my antiquing line?
I really did. Yeah, I was really into it.
Also, I really want to go antiquing, and I'm sad that there's a pandemic, because that actually sounds so fun.
That sounds so nice. I need something old, and that reminds me that there was a world before this.
Ah, yes, right? A beautiful world.
A beautiful world.
There was life. I know.
Yeah, it was so funny, guys, when we decided to do this episode. So what happened is basically this was on our list for season 1. We wanted to do a haunted objects episode, and we just didn't. And then I kind of brought it up, like, what if we tried that this time? And then as we're researching, we realized, like, we've done a lot of haunted objects before. They've just been on, like, different episodes.
Yeah, we just happened to bring them up in totally different context.
So we've covered, like, Robert the Doll, the antikythera mechanism. We've covered some haunted paintings. We discussed the Betz Sphere with Florida men.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
my gosh.
Yeah, with the Florida men, I should say, not with Florida men. So, yeah, we love weird stuff. We're doing an entire episode of weird stuff.
It's going to be fun.
I'm really excited.
Little objects, little things, as I said. It could be so many things. So many things. No, I'm very excited. It's actually bizarre how many haunted, cursed, just spooky, strange, any of the adjectives, how many of these objects exist around the world. Like, doing research was so funny because it was like, which one do I even choose? Why are there so many weird things around the universe?
There were so many, like, online lists that were like 40 haunted objects. I was like, 40?
I know. It would be like 40, what? 21, 60, and you'd go to the list and, like, yeah, there was some overlap, but there would be all these new ones I'd never heard of popping up all of a sudden. It was very exciting.
I'm really excited for the day we get to have a guest on again.
I am too. I feel like every week when we do these intros and saying, like, yeah, we usually sit down with a guest, I always have to take a little pause of sadness. Like, but we can't have guests because our life is in shambles.
We actually had a listener reach out, like, why can't you have guests? And it's very simple. We're choosing audio quality, sound quality over having a guest on the show. We may do something, maybe, if we can find another podcaster who's willing to sort of record in the way that we do.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can do something where we split the episode, where, like, I do a guest and then you do a guest on your end, and we'll smush them together into one episode. I don't know.
Yeah, we could try and find ways.
Because I do miss talking to people.
I know.
But I'm enjoying doing it with you, and I'm kind of enjoying, like, how easy it is to just, like, sit in my room.
Right. We both sit in our bedrooms, we call each other up on the phone, we record our separate audio, and it really is simple and beautiful.
So easy. I don't have to brush my hair. I don't even have to brush my teeth if I don't want to. I do, because I'm not a nasty person, but If I didn't want to, I didn't have to.
Yeah, it's nice that you have the choice to be disgusting if you want. And
Exactly.
I actually am kind of disgusting right now, not with the teeth brushing. I did brush my teeth, but I'm still in my workout clothes from earlier, and that's pretty gross. But also in my defense, I have a child and no time to shower. So just let me be a grease ball for this episode, and then I promise I'll shower when we're done.
I'm kind of the opposite. Today was one of the rare days that I didn't work out because I had to wait for a plumber, and I never knew like when he was coming. So it's like,
yeah, because they give you like a 12-hour window, and they're like, please be
from
home
8 to 4.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
No.
And he didn't even do anything. He walked in, he looked at my sink, and he went, okay, and they left, and he never came back. No idea where he went. So
What? So your sink isn't fixed, and what's happening?
Nothing. I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm the opposite because I didn't work out today because I didn't know when I could. So I'm still in like the pajamas that I slept in last night. And I didn't do my post-workout shower. And I'm a little sticky in a few places.
That's totally fair. It's just the stay-at-home life. Like, that's what happens to us, you know?
Yeah, I don't even know why I bother showering anymore. I mean, I do because I bike like 12 miles a day on my stationary bike. So like if I didn't shower, it would be so gross.
And we do have significant others who probably want to be close to us sometimes. So that is another reason for the shower.
Yeah.
Fine, Alex, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, fine, Joe. And Joe is so touchy-feely too. I'm not, actually. Weirdly enough, I'm the one in the relationship that's like, we don't have to touch. Like, you could sit on the couch and I could sit on the chair. We don't have to. Oh
my gosh, same. I love my separation. I hate snuggling in bed, especially. I'm like, we can give each other a nice little smooch before we fall asleep, but then roll away. I need my space.
And Joe's the opposite. Joe's like, can I have a hug? And I'm like, ugh. I hugged you yesterday.
Didn't we do this already? You're fine for the next week, right? We already did that.
Before we get into our topic today, I did want to take a moment to thank our new patrons. Yes, we do have new patrons again, which is amazing. We've got Jaz de la Huerta, Steve Murray Runciman, JC, Michelle Madan, and Amara. Thank you guys so much for joining our Patreon and donating to our show. And everyone listening should thank the Keep It Weird patrons because they're our main source of podcast income, and they are literally what keeps the show going.
They're keeping us afloat. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So thank you guys, all of you, and thank you guys for listening too. You guys are great too, but like some people are greater than others.
Gotta give shout outs to the great of the great, you know? It's fine.
If you are interested in getting bonus episodes and really lengthy newsletters full of cool horror movie news or suggestions, true crime stories, and This Week in Weirds, then you can find that at patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast. Also, sorry if I mispronounced your name. That didn't sound sincere, but it was. I'm really sorry.
The way you said it was really special.
Sorry.
We're so sorry.
So sorry if I mispronounced your name. No, really. Like, I do feel bad. I try. But sometimes my mouth doesn't do what I want it to.
It's fair. It's fine. We do what we can, and we're sorry. We love you all.
Do we have any other pieces of business to get to?
Not that I know of. If you are a patron, I hope you looked at our newsletter, I guess is a fun thing I want to say, because I feel like it was really great this month.
That's was a really good one. Our newsletter this month featured, I did a top 10 horror documentary list.
That was so good. I'm also so excited about John Boyega's new movie. I love him so much.
Yeah, I hope it happens. I did a little write-up on a potential Attack the Block sequel, ?
Right,
I'm really excited about that. Lauren did a really crazy true crime story.
Oh, gosh, that was tough.
That was rough, yeah.
It's a sad one.
Like, Jesus.
I know.
Really brings the newsletter down for a second. I know.
And then I tried to make you laugh immediately after with weird news stories. So
there were some good weird news stories, yeah.
But I always have to squeeze in some true crime. That's just who I am, even when it's depressing. But it's an interesting story, and I tried to make it appropriate with it being a Father's Day treat. Just a really loving father. Okay. yeah, we won't get into that too much. It's very sad.
I was going to say the only time that's appropriate is Halloween. Like any other time, it's like, I tried to make it festive with a Christmas murder. It's like, Jesus. Like no one is listening to anything about a Christmas murder and being like, let's hear the sleigh bells ring, ting, 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 ting.
I did, in February, I did a Valentine's Day murder, and I had that same thought. I was like, why did I do this? This is so sad. It's a day for love.
So anyways, we can get to...
Yeah, we can jump into the actual topic if we want. Got some weird objects for y'all.
Yeah, you're going first today.
Yes. And I'm talking about a painting, which, as you mentioned, we've talked about paintings before, but we haven't talked about this one, or God, I hope not, because you know our memories are going, and you can just stop me immediately and we'll cancel the episode or find out a way to move forward, but I'm talking about the Crying Boy painting. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I don't think we covered this. I think when we did the haunted painting, we covered the hands that...
Yes, which
whatever
that popped
that
up.
One's called.
Yeah, the hands that's something, which is the creepiest freaking painting in the world.
That
and
fucking sucks. I hate that painting.
I hate it, and people go missing from it, and there's probably a girl trapped inside of it, and I just cannot. But this is not that situation. It's actually very different from that painting, which is why I appreciated it. But let's jump in.
Please.
So, there is an Italian artist, or there was, named Giovanni Bragolin. I'm sure I said that absolutely correct. He was around in the 1950s, was when he was the most popular, and he was known for making a series of paintings of little children who were crying.
Which is like, all right, Giovanni.
Like, what you doing?
The fuck?
But what's crazy is, yes, that's my first thought. Like, why are you putting all these crying kids on paintings? But people freaking loved them. Like, they were selling out like nobody's business. People love Giovanni and his crying children. So, I mean, the kids are adorable, I will say. It's all these really close-up portraits of the cutest kids in the world. Little boys, little girls. They all have huge, usually bright eyes, like a bright green or a bright blue. And some of them aren't like actively crying. They don't have the puffy face and tears going down their cheeks. They just have tears in their eyes, which gives them like these crystally beautiful eyes, makes them even cuter. So people just loved this series. Yeah, he did it in the 1950s, and everybody was buying them. They were flying off the shelves. Like, copies had to be made because the originals were going so fast. And I guess in the UK alone, over 50,000 copies were sold within like 2 years because people were so obsessed with them. The children usually looked very poor, but were very beautiful, as I said. And then there was one little boy who was the most popular, and he actually had tears coming down his face and just looked so utterly distraught, and you just want to squeeze him and grab him, and he looks like he might possibly live on the street. He's like a little scuffed up, and it tugs at your heartstrings. And it became known as the Crying Boy. It was the most popular one. And they became mass-produced, like I said, because everybody wanted them. So they were very, very popular in the 50s, but then it wasn't until 1985 when things started getting real crazy. So the newspaper in the UK called The Sun, which many people have heard of, it's a huge tabloid newspaper, and especially in the 80s was super, super popular. They loved putting out outrageous stories. It was their thing. So they decided to cause a little panic regarding the Crying Boy painting. And their headline was Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy. And the story was about this couple named Mary and Ron Hall, whose house was completely destroyed by a fire that started in their kitchen, and it ruined everything on their ground floor except for the painting of the Crying Boy, which was on their first floor, very close to the kitchen, and was perfectly intact after this huge house fire. So they were totally devastated and, you know, crying to all the papers, telling their story, but they said that they believed it was the curse of the Crying Boy. They thought because the painting was still perfectly intact, they thought that painting was somehow the cause of the fire, and it was not because they messed something up in the kitchen and left something on a pan for too long, which is actually what happened. But they were like, no, it's definitely the fault of this little boy. So they threw out the painting, and they were trying to spread the news that it was definitely because of this boy.
That is an interesting insurance claim.
Exactly. Like, guys, it wasn't us. It was this little crying boy. So Mary and Ron Hall are making this outrageous claim. And again, this isn't something crazy for the Sun to publish in the paper. Like, it's a story that could have just come and gone. People would have forgotten about it in a week. But after it was published, a firefighter actually wrote in to the Sun and was like, I have gone to at least 15 to put out 15 house fires where basically the entire house was destroyed, but the only thing left intact was the picture of the crying boy. I kid you not. So this guy goes on claiming all these things, and once the firefighter story comes out, then everyone is coming out of the woodwork like, hold up. I was one of those people. This happened to me. So stories then came out about a woman in Surrey who lost her house to a fire 6 months after buying the painting. Then 2 sisters in Kilburn had fires in their homes after buying a copy of the painting. One sister even claimed to have seen her painting swaying back and forth on the wall during the fire, but still completely fine and avoiding the flames. Yeah. There was another woman who attempted to burn the painting herself after hearing the news, but didn't have any luck. She could not light it on fire no matter how hard she tried. A gentleman in Nottingham had a print of the painting and lost his entire home, and a lot of his family members were injured, but the painting was fine. A pizza parlor in Norfolk was destroyed, including every painting on its walls, which was several, except for the crying boy painting.
That is a classic pizza parlor decor thing, though. It's like, how much can we fit on the walls?
How many paintings can we put on the wall? And
this
license
crying
plates
boy,
and
this old Coca-Cola poster.
Exactly. Bottle caps, all kinds of
this small shovel.
Yeah, this small shovel. That's exactly right. Everything was destroyed, except for the painting of the crying boy. So it turns out that this curse was not that crazy. Everyone was like, Mary and Ron Hall are nuts. Wait a second. No, they're not. This is a real thing. So everyone's starting to freak out about the crying boy painting because they're all remaining unharmed. And it's crazy that people's houses are going ablaze who have this painting. And then people started writing in saying, well, I don't have the crying boy, but I have an image of a crying child in my house, and I'm afraid that it's going to catch on fire. So what can I do? And the Sun is like, first of all, we're just a newspaper, so I don't know what you want from us. But then they decided to capitalize on this since their newspaper was reporting this, and it was, everyone was getting so excited about it. So they offered, right around Halloween 1985, just to go along with the spookiness of the holiday, they said, send us your paintings of crying children, and we will try to light them all on fire with the supervision of the fire brigade, as they call it, which I think is so cute that it's called the fire brigade in the UK.
I feel like that's
adorable.
what I called my little firefighter set when I was a kid.
Yeah, like my pet shop fire station was the fire brigade. So they said, under the supervision of the adorable fire brigade, they would light all of the paintings on fire, and people did it. Like, the Sun received a mountain of crying children paintings, and the weird thing was, when they tried to light them on fire, they actually caught on fire this time, which everyone's like, excuse me, wasn't this the whole thing? So they successfully lit like a mountain of these paintings on fire, and they were like, cool, it worked, and also, happy Halloween, your curse is over. And that's just kind of what they were celebrating, or what they were pretending was going on. So then people started to look into, okay, maybe we ended the curse, or maybe this was just a fun little fire that we started, but whatever is going on, what do we think is the background of this? So the really weird thing is Giovanni Bragolin, or however you pronounce it, is actually just a pseudonym for this guy named, why do I not have his name nearby? Bruno. I was like, why didn't I type it in like bold font for my eyeballs to find?
Real-time freak out. Go on.
I was like, how did I not write down the real name? Bruno Amadeo was his real name.
If you're about to tell me that this guy was like a serial child molester, murderer,
no.
I'm going to shit my pants, because that's all I can think about is like, this guy is like, it's like he's just painting these crying children before he murders them.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is a better story to this. And honestly, he could have been, because that's the weirdest part of all of this is nobody knows a lot about this guy.
So he killed kids. Go on.
He totally killed kids. Like, he went under not just Giovanni Bragolin, like that was the most famous name he went under, and that is what was signed on all the back of these children's paintings, but he was also known to go under Francois Seville and one other, like Jorge something. Like, he went under a bunch of different names, but I think it was found that his actual real name was Bruno Amadeo, but nobody knew anything about him except that he most likely died in 1981, still painting until the day he died. I think he popped back up in the 1970s briefly and was painting. He was going back and forth between Italy and Spain and doing lots of paintings, and then died in September of 1981 is the belief. But there's not a ton of information on him. He was very mysterious. He traveled a lot. He painted all kinds of things. He was just most famous for this series of children. So we don't know a lot about him, which I find bizarre, but people, of course, just started going crazy with their theories. So some of the most fun ones are, they believe that it was a little gypsy child boy who placed a curse on the artist so that every painting of a crying child would make someone's house burn down. That was one.
Okay.
Some claim that the child had probably died in a fire and his spirit was trapped in the painting and trying to get a message across.
It's
but
true.
It's like,
there was a lot of fires involved.
there was a whole lot of fires, so I don't hate that theory. But the most popular claim is that the crying boy accidentally set fire to the studio while the artist was painting him, and the child's parents were killed in the blaze. So wherever this little orphan boy went, fires mysteriously followed him, earning him the nickname Diablo. So people started calling this sweet little boy in the painting Diablo or Devil Boy.
Okay.
And yeah, they believe that he was just this kid that was followed by fire, and his parents were killed in a fire. So that's what people like to hold on to the most. They believe that this is just a devil child and no one should purchase this painting because their home will be lit ablaze. But yeah, that is pretty much the story of the crying boy. Also, in 2010, a guy made a YouTube video, something just to throw a little more recent in. He bought a painting of the crying boy and tried to light it on fire, and he was able to burn a corner of it, but then the flame eventually worked hard on that corner and then just went out and didn't get the rest of the painting. So you could logically just say, I think these paintings are being printed on like fire retardant material, and there's nothing more to it than this is just like amazing material that the painting is being reproduced on. But you could also believe that it cannot be caught on fire and only your house will go ablaze.
Only
so whatever
your
you want to,
belongings.
yeah, only you, your family, and all of your belongings, and you're going to have a terrible life. But the painting will not catch on fire, so you can take comfort in that. And that was kind of the most recent thing that came out about it. That YouTube video is still on. You can go find it. Again, his name was Steve Punt. And that's the crying boy. Everyone still debates about it today with what's going on with it. But it is quite bizarre how many houses caught on fire with that painting.
I'm going to go with my theory. I like it the most. I think that this guy was a child molester or child killer. Mm-hmm. And especially since this one was like the poorest and saddest of them all, like maybe something particularly horrible happened to him. And it's just the souls of all of these children that were murdered or abused that are taking revenge on anyone who spends money, anyone who,
absolutely
contributes to the wealth of serial killer. Sorry, Giovanni / Bruno.
I do like
Maybe
that idea.
You're a good guy.
I know, Bruno, I hope you are actually nice, but we don't know a lot about you, so I'm a little suspicious. But I'm glad you mentioned like that people are being punished for spending money and supporting this artist, because I was trying to come up with theories of why anyone who purchases the painting has these troubles, that their house is caught on fire and, all of their belongings are burnt while the painting survives. But when the Sun newspaper had everybody send in those paintings, how they were able to set them all on fire with absolutely no issue, but they did not purchase those. And they were trying to end the curse. So maybe the little boy getting out for his revenge is like, hey, you guys are trying to support the cause of getting these paintings off the shelves, not supporting Giovanni, so I'm gonna let you set me ablaze. I don't know, I kind of like it.
No, I think we cracked that one.
It's very much like the tape in The Ring. Like, Samara let What's-Her-Toes live because she made a copy.
Oh,
and she was like, you
And
are
she
projecting
showed
my
other
message.
people.
You're sharing, and that's what I want you to do. But if people don't help me, I'm going to murder them and come out of this well. So it's kind of like that.
I have a lot of questions about Samara. Why was she such a little bitch?
That's what I don't fully understand. Like, I know she didn't have a great life at home, but she was also like a horrible witch.
But she didn't have a great life at home because she was the worst.
She was so mean to her parents and weird to the horses. And, like,
so
why?
Okay. She was not their biological daughter.
No.
Because they said, like, she left and then came back with a kid. So she was either adopted.
Yeah, and do we think she's like the child of Satan because she is pure evil?
I don't know. And she can produce images with her brain.
Right.
I mean, everyone can, but like she can like actually produce like images to film with her brain. Yeah, that was the only thing I always misunderstood about The Ring. I was like, but why is she so awful? Like, why is she such a little shit?
I know. She was so terrible to her parents. It's like, well, yeah, you're going to get pushed down a well when you're a terrible person.
She made all of the horses die.
I know. Ugh, that's the most sad.
She drove her parents to madness.
To complete madness. Oh my gosh.
And then
the mom and the
made
dad.
A haunted tape that literally kills a bunch of people.
Kills you in 7 days.
And
when people are just trying to watch a movie and you put out these strange pictures and that weird sound that Ashley's toilet also makes.
Yep. That was one of the things I was going to have the plumber look at today, but he never came back.
Anyway, that just made me laugh so hard. Let's move on.
We'll move on. So I actually, once again, the topics that I chose ended up taking me places that I didn't expect, but
we love it.
We got such good feedback on last week's episode that I'm just going to ride that wave, baby.
Do it.
Take me wherever I'm supposed to go.
That's right.
So my first story today comes out of Old Hollywood.
Oh, love it.
This is an object that I've always heard about, but I never knew the minute details of, and boy, is this one weird.
I'm excited.
Okay, so the object is James Dean's car.
Yes, I've been wanting to learn more about this.
And for anyone who doesn't know, James Dean was a pretty famous actor back in the 50s. And
a real
all
hottie.
y'all's moms had a crush on James Dean.
Oh, yeah.
James Dean actually had kind of an unfortunate life. And I know that's kind of hard to imagine because he became mega famous and, now he's an icon. But his life was very sad. He lived with his mom and dad in Santa Monica. He was very close to his mother, but in 1938, when James was 9 years old, she died of uterine cancer. And James Dean's father felt that he was unable to care for him, so he sent him to live with his aunt and uncle on a farm in Indiana, where he was raised in a Quaker household.
Oh, geez.
And it was in Indiana and under this now strict religious upbringing that he was sexually abused by a minister for a number of years.
No way.
Yeah.
I had never heard that before. That's horrible.
As soon as he finished high school, he moved back to California to be with his father and his stepmother to go to Santa Monica College, where he was pre-law. I didn't know that.
Oh, what a little smarty.
He transferred to UCLA for a semester, and then he dropped out to become an actor and pretty much seemed to just walk on to whatever role he wanted. Like, they couldn't get enough of him. It was like he did a Pepsi commercial, and then he got a job. I'm pretty sure he was like a valet of some kind at CBS Studios down there in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
And, no, that's Hollywood. I'm forgetting my West Hollywood boundaries because I haven't lived there in so long. But
we just can never go there ever.
And we can't go there anymore. But he, he just had a look that was like, we want you in every movie that we have.
Seriously, with that jawline, you just gotta put him in everything.
The only people that didn't like him were people that were like, I don't get this moody shit. And it was like, just you wait. He's just the beginning of the moody shit.
Let him do his thing.
And also, he had a reason to be moody.
Yeah.
But he's most known for his role opposite another Hollywood tragedy, Natalie Wood, in Rebel Without a Cause.
Love.
And as you all know, I'm sure, James Dean died when he was only 24 years old.
So young.
And he was so young. That's one of those things where you hear about it and you're like, oh, wow, he was young. And then once you're like in your 30s, you're like 24.
24, you're just
That is a
starting your
child.
life. You are an infant. You have not done anything yet. I mean, that's not completely true. Some 24-year-olds have, but you have so much life ahead of you.
And I remember being young and like kind of getting annoyed with older people saying that, but guys, it's true, and it's not like a bad thing.
It's not
just,
a bad thing.
You have no idea how sweet and young and innocent you are until you're like 30 and above, and probably I'll be saying this when I'm 50, like I can't believe how sweet and young and innocent I was when I was 30.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like my parents, even now, every time I have another birthday, I'm like, well, I'm in my 30s now, everything goes downhill. My parents are both like, oh my god, your 30s are so great, you're still so young and learning things. I'm like,
it's
oh
like,
my
really?
god.
Because my body hurts every day.
Everything hurts, everything's terrible.
So he died when he was 24, and aside from acting, one of his favorite pastimes was racing. He actually wanted to develop an auto racing career, and he started to do so after his filming concluded on the movie East of Eden. He purchased 2 cars that I guess were fast. I don't know. A Triumph Tiger T110 and a Porsche 356. I assume those are fast cars.
I know nothing about cars, but I'll agree with you.
Right before he started filming Rebel Without a Cause, he competed in his first professional event in Palm Springs. He won first place in the novice class and second place at the main event. A month later, he raced in Bakersfield, and he finished first in his class and third overall. So he was actually pretty good. It wasn't just like some Hollywood guy who's like, I want to do this now. Or like Michael Jordan, how he's like, I'm going to golf now.
Right. Oh, gosh, that was a mistake.
I'm going to be a baseball player.
Yeah,
like, all
James
right.
Dean actually was a talented racer.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right, Michael, you can't run away from all your problems. So after the filming ended for the movie Giant, James decided he wanted to go all in with racing again, and he traded in one of his cars for a 1955 Porsche 550 Spider, and that's Spider with a Y, which makes it cooler.
Fancy.
He also had it customized. He gave it new seats, 2 red stripes over the rear wheels, the number 130 on its doors, hood, and engine cover, and he called it Little Bastard, which was also painted on the back.
Yes.
But on the way to his first race, a Ford truck was passing through an intersection while turning left on Route 466, and Dean was unable to stop in time. He slammed into the passenger side of the Ford, resulting in his car bouncing across the pavement and onto the side of the highway. His passenger was thrown from the Porsche and survived. He had a fractured jaw and serious injuries to his hip and femur. And James was actually trapped in the car and had multiple injuries, including a broken neck. Oh. And he was alive at the time, but pronounced dead on arrival when he made it to the nearest hospital.
Dang. I was just going to say, how long was he kept alive? But
yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
But here's where the weird stuff comes in. So the sort of first strangeness involving the car came about when James was still alive. On September 23rd of 1955, he met actor Alec Guinness, who is the original Obi-Wan Kenobi, outside of a restaurant, and he had him take a look at his new car. And Guinness told Dean that the car had a sinister appearance, and he said that if you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week.
Whoa.
And 7 days later, that's exactly what happened.
What?
Yeah, and that was like something where like someone noted that. I don't remember whoever was with James Dean at the time. It wasn't Alec Guinness that said that, but Alec Guinness was then asked about it later, and he said like, yeah, I said that, but I also don't know what came over me. Like he didn't know why he said it.
He has no idea why that came out of his mouth.
Mm-mm. He thought it was weird that he said it at the time. It was like, why did I say that?
Yeah.
So maybe it was like a strange instance of clairvoyance for Alec Guinness. I don't know.
It just popped into his head, and he had to be the vessel to convey the message. That's so bizarre.
But James Dean just laughed, and
as you would when you hear something like that.
So after the accident, George Barris, who was the guy who customized the car originally, bought the wrecked car for $2,500. And you're probably thinking, $2,500? That's so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are thinking that, then you haven't seen the photos of this car after the accident. And I put car in quotation marks because the only way it resembled a car anymore was that it had wheels still.
I'm sure it was
two
just
wheels
wrecked.
still. It
Jeez.
was... It didn't even look like a vehicle. It was destroyed. So
scary.
Very. Anyway, so George bought what was left of the car. And soon after that, it slipped off its trailer and broke a mechanic's leg.
Jeez.
And not long after that, George Barris took apart what he could and started to sell the pieces that he could resell. He sold the engine and the drivetrain to Troy McHenry and William Eschrid, who were two amateur racers. While the two men were both racing against one another in cars that had parts from Little Bastard, McHenry lost control and hit a tree, killing him instantly. And Eschrid was seriously injured when his car suddenly locked up and rolled over while going into a turn.
Oh, wow.
At this point, Barris still had 2 tires from the Spider, which were untouched in Dean's accident. He sold them, and not long after, both blew out simultaneously, causing the new owner's car to run off the road.
Jeez. Literally every
die.
inch of that car was cursed.
Yeah.
He
did not die, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Barris kept what was left of the car, and it wasn't a secret that he had it, so there were multiple attempts to steal parts of the car.
Mm-hmm.
2 men even got close. One of them was trying to steal the steering wheel, and in the process, his arm got torn open. The other was injured while trying to remove a blood-stained seat. Neither of them made it out with any part of the car.
Wow. What?
So, and that is sort of like, well, it was a mangled mess. I'm sure there was some really sharp metal parts, and maybe they were in a hurry, but it's still kind of interesting that the car was like, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah, nope, you can't take this. I will not let you. You're getting away with nothing.
So at this point, George Barris is like, okay, this car is
I think I'm done.
Weird. I'm going to hide it. So he decided to hide the car. Like, he put it into a storage unit where no one knew where it was, and he hid it away.
Good call.
Years later, he was convinced by the California Highway Patrol to lend the heap of metal to a highway safety exhibit. Basically, to be like, see, kids, this is what happened when you speed, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The first exhibit it was a part of was unsuccessful because the garage that housed the car burned to the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
And the car mysteriously suffered no damage from the fire.
Because we've learned that cursed objects won't burn that easily.
Won't burn.
They just won't do it.
The next exhibition was at a local high school, and it ended horribly when the car fell off its display and ended up breaking a student's hip.
Oh, my goodness. How? How can any more happen regarding this car?
If you can believe it, I am not done. The curse continues when Little Bastard, this one's nuts, when Little Bastard was being transported, and the truck that was carrying the car lost control. Somehow, the driver, George Barkis, fell out of the truck as it was moving, only to be crushed by Little Bastard as it fell off the back.
No.
He died.
He was crushed by the car?
He was crushed to death by the car as it slid. The driver of this truck.
How? That's not even possible.
I cannot imagine how it happened.
I can't even picture that in my head. My brain can't wrap around that. That is crazy town.
Then the car fell off 2 more transport trucks while traveling on the freeway, but luckily no one was injured in either of those instances.
Well, thank goodness. But also,
I know,
how
but
can you
also
deny...
just like...
You can't deny this car is cursed. Like,
because they tie it down
it.
better and better every time. It's not like they're
Yes.
just throwing it up there hoping it doesn't fucking fall off the truck. So at this time, when it was being transported, it was still in the hands of the California Highway Patrol, and they were actually trying to transport it back to George Barris, but it mysteriously vanished in transit and has not been seen since.
Okay.
There was an interesting tip a couple years ago. The Volo Auto Museum in Volo, Illinois, put out
Illinois.
Which also, where's Volo?
Yeah, why have we never heard of that?
I didn't even look it up. I was like, that exists probably.
Yeah.
And Volo, Illinois put out a $1 million offer of the car in 2005 to go along with the 50th anniversary of James Dean's death. And they did get some calls, like every year they got calls, but they all ended up like not panning out or they were complete hoaxes. But in 2015, an unnamed source called in and said that when he was 6 years old, he witnessed his father and a couple other men stow the car away behind a false wall in a building in Washington state.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he even has a scar on his hand from where the car had cut him that night, which is like so on brand.
Yeah,
for a little bastard.
Seriously. Very on brand.
Unfortunately, the property that this took place on was not his property, so he couldn't go like knock down the wall to check, but he did agree to a polygraph test, and the results determined he was telling the truth.
Oh, gosh.
But
so the car is hiding in Washington.
We're not sure. That's the latest I can find. Like, no updates to that 2015 story, so it either turned out to be bogus, or the owner of the property has not allowed anyone to search their home or the building or whatever.
I mean, if you're housing the cursed car, you're not going to let anybody near that, I'm sure. You're like, this is staying hidden on my property. Yeah. Holy buckets. That is a wild ride in James Dean's car.
Yeah. A $1 million award, like, that's like crazy, but I feel like you could get more than that if you showed up and were like, but the problem is, though, is that the car is still owned. Like, George Barris owned the car.
Yeah.
He bought it. So you couldn't say, like, here's James Dean's car. If it gets authenticated, it goes back to the owner. Like, you can't, it's not finders keepers.
Yeah, you wouldn't just have claim over it.
Yeah, and I don't
think
that's
very true.
George Barris is alive anymore, but I guarantee, like, in his will, it's probably like, if anyone ever finds this car, 100%. It goes to
someone in his family is getting that car, and they would fight for it, I am sure.
Yeah.
Wow, so that is so fascinating that it's just like, we don't know where it is. Who knows?
No idea. Yeah, that car
is crazy.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Stuff. I knew that there were stories about James Dean's car. Like, I feel like it has popped up in conversation. I've seen it in articles, yada, 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 but I truly had no idea how nutso the story was.
I know. I knew that, like, it, fell off a couple ramps and, like, hurt people, but that was, I just kept finding more stuff. And I was like, how many cases are there?
Like, nobody can deny. There's just no denial. This is a cursed car.
Christine.
Yeah, seriously. Also, I had to look up Volo. I was just too curious.
Where is it?
Up by Chicago.
Oh, okay. Usually there.
Yeah.
If it's a museum, where else is it going to be in Illinois? I know.
Right. Yeah.
Be like, we've got the Butter Museum, probably.
When you type in Volo, the first thing that pops up is their auto museums. That's like their biggest thing. But yeah, they're pretty close to North Chicago. Pretty close to the water. Looks like a tiny little place that doesn't have a whole lot going on except for that auto museum. But, cool. Maybe we'll pay it a visit. Who knows?
Tell me about
more things.
This next thing. I didn't know if the next thing was a surprise. It's a dress, everybody. It's a dress.
You can definitely say it. It is a wedding dress.
Okay.
It's not a big reveal. It's a dress, everybody. So in 1849, there was a woman named Anna Baker, and she lived with her very wealthy family in Altoona, Pennsylvania. She was the third child, daughter to this man named Elias Baker, who was like an iron master is his title. Like, basically, iron was what you worked in back then, especially in Pennsylvania. And so he was the master of all the iron workers, had a ton of money. They lived in this huge, beautiful mansion at the top of a hill in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Like, everybody knew their family. So Anna is the third born. She was always a little bit rebellious, and she, of course, falls in love with one of the lowly iron workers. He didn't make a lot of money. He was from a very poor family, just trying to make his way in the world, working for Elias Baker. But any time that she came across any of the employees, she just kept laying her eyes on this guy, fell deeply in love. And when Elias found out about it, he decided that he wanted to ruin their relationship and basically tried to stop them from being together at every point. But then there came a day where Anna came forward and was like, "Daddy," is how I imagine she said it. "Daddy, I'm going to marry this man, like, no matter what you say.
She was
I already bought a dress."
14.
Exactly. I actually don't see her age on here, but there's a good chance she was very, very young in 1849. No, she begged her father to get married. He, of course, said no immediately, but she was like, "We don't care what you say. We're going to run off and get married together. I actually already found a dress." And she put on the dress hoping to charm her father and be like, "Look how beautiful your daughter looks in this dress." And it was lovely. But he was like, "Absolutely not. I have all the power and the influence in this town. I can do whatever I want." So he was able, like with his henchmen, to kick this man out of Altoona. He didn't murder him, which is where I thought the story was going to go.
Yeah.
Or maybe he did, and like we have no idea where this guy is.
Classy move,
But
though, Dad.
Right.
Just banishing him. Yeah.
Yeah, just drove him out of town, made sure, he had all of his spies out saying, like, if this man ever sets foot in here again, alert me immediately, like, get him out of here. Broke his daughter's heart, and she was so angry that she said she would never marry anyone again, and she would just grow old, living alone, and never even wanted to think about love again. So that actually...
She's probably better off.
Yeah, truly. She made not the worst decision, But what I really feel bad is she had to live the rest of her days in her parents' house. Like, she never even moved out,
true.
which that really sucks.
Yeah, at that age, or in that time, yeah. You don't get to just be like, I'm going to go live in the city and be single.
Exactly. I'm going to be independent.
Guess what, Mom and Dad? You get to take care of me for the rest of my life until you're too fucking old, and then I guess I'll take care of you, but I'm going to hate you forever.
But I will be miserable and cry in your face every day. She did. She died a bitter old maid. I hate that term, so I take it back. She was just a bitter old lady, and she lived in the Baker Mansion for the rest of her days. But in the year after all of this happened, I have to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
She had always been seen, like, dancing around the house by the servants, by her family, in that wedding dress because, she was still holding out hope for this man and still living this dream, thinking about the love and the epic romance that they had together. So she loved being in the dress and just thinking about the life she could have had, and she was seen just, like, dancing around in it at all times. So that happened.
That's creepy.
I know. It got a little weird. She was in a very, very weird place after this situation. So she would dance around in the dress. And then a year later, after the wedding was called off and the dad banished the ironworker from Altoona, a debutante named Elizabeth Bell came forward and said, "I want to buy this wedding dress." And of course, Anna is angry and heartbroken over everything and is like, no, this is my one thing I have. But good old Elias Baker, good old Papa, decided, nope, we're absolutely selling this dress because you're a nut job and we're going to make a little money off of this. And this is a beautiful socialite, you want to be in good with her. So of course we're going to sell her the dress. So Elizabeth Bell takes the dress, gets married in it, and now Anna doesn't even have it in her possession anymore. But years and years later, after Anna dies, after everyone is dead at this point, the wedding dress is given back. It is found and given back to the Blair County Historical Society, which eventually then donated it to the museum, which was once the Baker home. Their huge mansion was turned into a museum that still stands today. And now the dress is kept in a glass case up in what was Anna's old dressing room, which is like a little tiny square room that branches off of her bedroom that was on the top floor of the house. So when you tour the museum, you see like all the history of the family, but also just a lot of Pennsylvania history scattered around in the house.
And then you get to Anna's room and you're like, and this is Anna's room.
And... This is Anna's room. It's just depressing and has this old dress.
Can you imagine, like, not only, like, having that happen to you and then having to, like, never marrying and, like, dying a bitter old woman and then, in the afterlife realizing you're famous just for being, like, sad?
For just being a sad old woman. Like, she reminds me of the woman on the Haunted Mansion ride. I mean, I think she might have murdered her husband.
Oh, she did, yeah.
It's pretty scary. But I just think of her, like, crying in her wedding dress for the rest of her days.
Don't forget your death certificate.
Certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love her. But
Anyways.
no, it's just, she's just this bitter old woman who wished she could have lived out the rest of her days sitting in a wedding dress. And that is what she's remembered for. So that is depressing. But I feel a little happy for her that the wedding dress ended up back in her room in this museum because, you know, she needed something. She needed a win.
Yeah.
And even though it was after death, the dress was returned to her in some strange way. So then to get to the cursed part. So both the Historical Society and the people that run the museum and witnesses, tourists who have come through the museum, all claim that the dress moves on its own. Like, this is not just a couple people here and there with hearsay. It's like the people who work there, everybody who comes through is like, something is off with that dress. It varies from it will lightly swing back and forth, or it will come forward a little bit. Some women have claimed that they believe when it decides to push forward in a bit of a way that it looks like a woman is standing behind it and trying to model it like we all do, you know, when you hold a dress in front of you and you like kind of kick your leg out to see how the dress looks on you. They believe that is the shape that it's taking, as if someone's modeling it. Some have even believed, but will admit that maybe it's a trick of the eye, that while they see it swaying back and forth, they even see like a very slight apparition of a woman in the glass case as if she's trying on the dress. But again, people are trying to be as logical as possible, and they're like, you know, I saw the dress moving, maybe I just imagined I saw a woman. But a few people have said they saw the apparition, so we don't know. And then those are kind of the more minor things, but some of the workers who have to stay late, they usually say it's at nighttime when they're closing up, they say sometimes the dress shakes so violently that it feels like the glass is going to break in the case. Like it is rattling trying to get out of that glass case. So that has freaked people out a lot. And paranormal investigators have, of course, come through here to check it out, and they've tried to, as much as they want to find something cool, they've tried to debunk it as well, and they cannot find any sort of draft that would be able to get into the glass case. They have found no sort of rigging. There's just no way that this dress is being hit by anything, you know, that they can find. There's no logical explanation for why this dress would be moving back and forth that any investigators can find. Also staying overnight in the house, besides seeing the dress move, people have heard, you know, weird footsteps and creaks up on the second floor where the bedroom is. There is believed that a woman is walking around in Anna's bedroom. They've heard the voice of a woman, yada, yada, yada. So it's most likely a haunted house. It's a creepy dress. Yeah, it's a creepy dress and a creepy house in general. Like, I think the Baker family could absolutely still be present in some way. Maybe it's just Anna, maybe it's the whole family, but the dress is the most specific one that is freaky as hell and shakes so violently that it's trying to come out of the case. So the most recent news on this, which is also just a little spooky if you choose to believe, is that now the dress is no longer on display. It was put away in a closet, and the museum's staff all just claim that, oh, we had to put it away because the sun exposure was ruining the quality of the dress and it was starting to yellow and blah, blah, blah. But we know better that they had to put it away because of the shaking and the freaking people out. They had to, you know, tuck her away for another day is what I believe. But
yeah, but can you imagine how their ticket sales sank?
Right? Like that's
we
what
got rid of the
came
haunted
for.
dress. It's like, cool, so show me a piece of iron that this guy fucking welded. Like, I don't care about that.
I don't want to look at the iron, and I don't want to talk about Elias. Yeah, I don't care about Altoona.
I want a spooky dress. Well, my next topic. Oh, there's a little bug on my microphone for a second.
Oh, just coming to say hello.
Just a little fly guy. I don't know where he went. My next topic is to take me to freaking La La Land, and I don't mean Los Angeles, although Los Angeles does come into play. So I guess I mean both definitions of La La Land.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to be talking about the Ubaid statues of Iraq.
All right, let's do it.
So it's a pretty universally accepted fact that civilization started in Iraq. Specifically in ancient Mesopotamia, even more specifically the civilization of Sumeria. However, in the early 1900s, there was an archaeological discovery at the Al Ubaid site where many pre-Sumerian artifacts were found. So they predate Sumeria. And included in these artifacts were statues of humanoid lizard people.
Oh, cute.
They are dated to be about 7,000 years old.
Oh, jeez.
So now before we go into Crazy Town, I'm going to talk a little history. Ubaidian culture dates between 4,000 and 5,500 BC, so about 5,000 years before JC was walking around.
Okay.
And as with the Sumerians, the origins of the Ubaidian people is unknown. Although, it does seem that they can tell that the fall of the civilization came about with social unrest due to there being an emergence of an elite class.
Okay.
Many civilizations fall to the inequality of wealth, specifically, or especially under an oligarchy, which is where there's a small group of people that has control over the country or population. And I say this because it's going to come into play later.
Okay, noted.
So anyhow, they were a working civilization. They had roads. They used irrigation to farm. Villages had begun to develop into towns even. Temples began to appear. It was a real city.
Okay.
The main site where the artifacts were discovered is also known as the Talal Ubaid, although later similar figures were found in other major Sumerian sites too. The figures are male and female figurines, and they're in different postures and positions. They have long heads, stretched almond-shaped eyes, tapered faces, and a lizard-type nose.
Yeesh.
In most of them, they appear to be wearing a helmet and have some kind of padding on the shoulders. Like, they all kind of look like they're wearing 80s blazers.
Oh my gosh, what is happening with these statues?
Some figurines are holding staffs or scepters, which is usually a symbol at the time of justice and ruling. They all have different poses, but one of the strangest ones are the female figures that are breastfeeding babies, and the babies are also represented as a lizard-like creature.
Okay.
Now, this isn't usually something that's
creepy.
seen even in, like, Egyptian hieroglyphs. Like, you see, like, I don't know if it's a sphinx or, like, an Anubis or something breastfeeding. It's usually a human baby. It's usually not, like, a baby Anubis. You know, a baby sphinx.
Yeah.
So, like, that was kind of strange. And because of those female figurines breastfeeding specifically, archaeologists don't believe that they were that they were ritualistic objects.
Oh.
But they were found in a very important ancient site, so they were obviously important to the Ubaidian people. To this day, we have not been able to figure out these little dudes.
There's just no answer?
No. It does bring us to one of my all-time favorite conspiracies, the reptilian elite.
Oh, I do love talking about the lizard people.
I love the lizard people.
It is fun.
We've mentioned them on the show before, but I'm not missing a chance to talk about them.
Oh my gosh, yes, bring it back.
So I'll give you a little, like, refresher before I get into it. These humanoid reptiles have controlled humankind since ancient times, and they include many rich and powerful people. Queen Elizabeth, George W. Bush, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Obama, and some of his Secret Service, Mark Zuckerberg. I think I even remember Miley Cyrus blinking with 2 sets of eyelids.
Ooh.
Pretty sure I remember that video.
Mark Zuckerberg actually looks a lot like a
That's
lizard.
the one that I will believe. I'll give you that. I'll be like, Mark Zuckerberg. Have you seen the meme where it's like Mark Zuckerberg's wax figure looks more human than Mark Zuckerberg?
Yes, and it's so true. Like, when you see him in interviews or like that video of him in court, he just looks so bizarre. Yeah, dead in the eyes. Definitely lizard-like.
Supposedly, these creatures are behind secret societies like the Freemasons and the Illuminati, and they also started and control Scientology. They've got their scaly fingers in everything.
They are just dipping them everywhere, and I bet they live on the bunker floor of the Denver airport.
That is a theory of what's underneath the Denver airport. So, these lizard-faced statues found in an ancient excavation in Iraq aren't helping. And neither are the weird reptile-shaped beings found in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Like, one of my favorites, and I've talked about it on the show before, the depiction that shows what seem to be light bulbs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one of the dudes holding the light bulb has a damn reptile head.
Oh,
so
well.
Also, the reptilian statue of the Horijuji Temple. Hold on. I said that wrong. Horyuji Temple in Japan. That doesn't help either, especially after this is sort of like the dress. The statue was secretly removed from the exhibition open to the public in 2017.
Well, come on.
Yeah, they just like took it away. And it's like it's a samurai that is a lizard. It's an interesting statue. So conspiracy theorists are pointing to these ancient artifacts as proof that there is a reptilian race on this planet, but that they've had to disguise themselves in modern times.
That's 100% true. I buy it.
Some people believe that reptilians are extinct, but once existed. Like, we humans evolved from monkeys, but there were other humans who evolved from reptiles, possibly even dinosaurs. Just like in the movie Super Mario Brothers, starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. That's what happened there.
I could totally see that, especially because, like, not even just Mark Zuckerberg. There's a lot of people that look lizard-like on this earth.
Yeah.
Like, I totally buy this story.
Well, this theory is supported by a man named Dr. Dale Russell, who is a geologist and paleontologist. And in 1982, Dr. Russell proposed his dinosauroid theory after studying a prehistoric animal known as the Troodon. So this raptor-like animal had large eyes, binocular-like vision, and abnormally large brains. They also had free working fingers and the ability to grasp objects with their hands. And Russell suggested that species could have evolved over millions of years to resemble human beings.
No.
But he's also the one that thinks that, like, he doesn't think that they exist still. But he thinks they just I don't believe. Existed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was one of the guys who's like, no, like, this could have happened. Like, dinosaurs could have evolved to be more human-like, right. But he doesn't believe that they still exist.
Okay, gotcha.
But then there's others, like ex-sports announcer turned paranoid conspiracy theorist David Icke, who we've talked about on the show before, that believe they are an extraterrestrial race that are here to pull the strings of politicians and the rich and famous at a global level, possibly as part of some bigger universe-spanning plan. He subscribes to the theory that I know we've talked about on the show before, although I think it was in season 1, the one where there's like secret passageways and tunnels under Los Angeles.
Like under the city. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he claims that this guy was a mining engineer. His name was G. Warren Schufelt, who actually mapped out these underground tunnels. And the underground tunnels exist. We know about them now.
Yeah.
Some of them we've even converted and like made into like easy to travel underground tunnels to like get places.
Right.
And he had learned about the mythical underground city and the lizard people from a Native American elder. That's right. Native American tribes have lizard people legends too.
Oh man, they're everywhere.
They are, including a California Indian tribe known as the Pomo, where lizard, or it's called Hatanutah, was one of the major figures of creation. He made humans partially in his image, specifically, and this is interesting, specifically the hands. If you notice a lizard's hands, they've got fingers like we do, sort of. Only I think they have 4 and we have 5. They don't have thumbs. Yeah. So we've got Ick. He's a big one, but you guys should also check out a guy named Len Kasten. He's the author of several books that I have to read, including Alien World Order, The Reptilian Plan to Divide and Conquer the Human Race.
That is a book that is right up your alley. You need to read that immediately.
Yes. His research has revealed things like President Eisenhower's treaty with the Greys, which was signed at Holloman Air Force Base in 1954, which gave the aliens authority to abduct humans for research.
Oh.
And how reptilians have produced alien-human hybrids under their control to replace the human population altogether. He believes, however, that the Illuminati and New World Order are not reptilian, but they help reptilians.
They're like allies to the reptilian world. Honestly, maybe we should be replaced by this reptilian-alien hybrid or whatever the hell they're making. Like, it might be time
that's
to
what
wipe
I'm
us
getting
out.
at. Because I wanted to go over all that because I kind of have a theory that ties in these ancient civilizations and kind of what's going on today and the reptilian, elite.
Love it.
And I don't know, this theory might exist already. I couldn't find anything, but you and I know I'm not good at Googling things, apparently, because I also can't find that weird mic problem we have. So maybe it exists. But so let's say that it's all true. Reptilians are extraterrestrials who used to visit Earth a lot, but now have to disguise themselves, whatever. So I actually looked into the collapse of civilizations. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's always one of 5 things. Climate change is a big one because that results in crop failure and starvation and stuff. The collapse of the Mayans and the Roman Empire both coincided with abrupt climatic changes, which we are convinced in 2020 that we are protected from somehow.
Yeah.
Other reasons are environmental degradation, which is like deforestation, water pollution, etc., which we also in 2020 believe that we are protected from. Another reason is complexity, which is basically when societies eventually collapse under the weight of their own bureaucracy. Obviously, external problems, war, natural disasters, famine, and plagues. And like I said earlier, inequality and oligarchy. So if you look at our civilization now, like we're checking off a lot of boxes.
Yeah, we are. And quickly.
Yeah. So climate change, environmental degradation, war, natural disasters, a pandemic. Obviously, we're also struggling not to collapse under the weight of our own bureaucracy right now. And what I mentioned earlier with inequality and oligarchy. So I looked it up. The share of global wealth from the 1% has swelled from 25 to 35% in the 80s to over 40% in 2020.
Jeez.
And after seeing headlines recently, 43 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits, myself included, and U.S. billionaires have become $565 billion richer since March 18th.
I mean, it's insane. I was reading about that the other day, too. Like, the rich are just getting richer while everybody's losing their jobs and just trying to scrape things together. It's truly baffling how this can be happening. But here we are.
Well, the rich getting richer as the poor get poorer has created a lot of stress on the societies of past civilizations and ultimately contributed to or have been like the main reason for their collapse. So let's say that there are extraterrestrial reptilian creatures that disguise themselves and are among us today. What if they are around to ensure that human societies collapse before they are large enough to have universal influence?
I like it.
Because human beings, we are a literal plague. We are the only creatures on this planet that do nothing for their environment. We do not give back.
We're horrible.
Every other
we give nothing back.
System in our world, whether it's the ocean or watch one animal documentary. Every other creature on this planet,
to the earth.
Yeah, does something for Earth except for us.
We do nothing. We're useless. We make it worse. We're making all the mistakes you can make. We're doing nothing helpful. We're destroying the planet. We
won't survive. Like, the human race will not survive. Maybe it's probably not going to end in our lifetime, but like, it's not going to continue. There's no way.
Yeah.
We just won't. Eventually we're going to implode. So if I was like an extraterrestrial, there's no fucking way I would want them anywhere near my home planet.
Yeah, right. Like, stay the F away.
Just keep them there. Like,
leave them there to destroy themselves. But don't bring them back to me.
Don't let them get big enough where they can travel light years in space, because we don't want them even coming near us or discovering us or anything.
Yeah, don't let them come close to us. That's very true. So they're just watching for that.
Yeah, and when a civilization collapses, it's either absorbed into something else or they go back to the Stone Age. You know what I mean? Like, we will lose all progress and we will have to start over, which has happened
start from scratch
100 times in human history. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that it will happen to us today.
Totally. Yeah.
So
it's not looking great here in 2020. So,
but that would be why reptilians inserted themselves into the highest powers possible. The highest powers possible are the ones that ensure that the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. They can ensure a war will be ongoing. They can ensure that we don't reduce our emissions. They can ensure that we don't reverse the degradation of our environment.
Damn, Donald Trump must have a lot of lizard people on his team, because he's doing all of that.
Yeah, every politician. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, you're right.
But I guess I believe in the reptilian elite.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew you did, but you're now kind of bringing me onto your team. You do
Come
make
aboard.
a good argument.
Yeah, no,
Hop
it was
on
just
board.
sort
I
of
think I'm here for it.
interesting because I was also researching these reptilian figures and throughout like the Egyptian hieroglyphs, the ones that were found in Iraq that were part of Ubaidian culture and Sumeria and stuff. And a lot of them predate to about the time that society was sort of on the decline.
Right. Yeah.
So it is kind of
it
interesting that they date to about the time that the society is about to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Interesting. I like the connections here.
But yeah, we have no idea. We don't know what these things are, why there are lizard people statues.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, yeah, there are a lot. Even us today, we have cartoons. We have Paw Patrol, but like in Egyptian times, there were a lot of, animals that represented other things. And, the Mayans had Quetzalcoatl, who was a reptilian bird creature. It's not out of the ordinary. What was out of the ordinary is that they didn't seem to be figurines of gods.
Yeah.
They seemed to be figurines of, like, fellow man, basically.
Yeah. It wasn't a figurine to be worshipped. Yeah. It was just like, hey, here's Paul from
accounting
from our neighborhood. Yeah. Oh, okay. Man, the notes for that really did lead you in a new direction. Like we were saying, like you truly just don't know what you're going to be discussing on the show until the research leads you somewhere. Yeah. And you are a great example of that.
Until you find out that our society is about to collapse thanks to lizard-faced individuals.
Lizard-faced politicians. Oh, man. I loved that. I think you have brought me over to the lizard people team. When we first talked about it in season 1, you're like, they're definitely beneath the city of LA. I was like, all right, slow your roll. But now after this, I'm really thinking about it, especially with the way 2020 is going. Like, it seems like history is going to repeat itself and the lizards will come forth.
Speaking of, first of all, listeners, if I brought you over to the lizard side, please let me know. I'd love to hear that. Second of all, did you see that there's another pandemic, a flu-like pandemic that's starting?
In China. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pork products?
I can't even. I saw it on Facebook and whoever I saw posted it was like, just leave us alone.
Just stop.
Like, I know.
Enough.
Yeah, another like bad flu strain.
It won't be as deadly, but still.
Yeah, when I was reading the first few paragraphs, I honestly was starting to go in a full-blown anxiety attack and was like, I can't handle this right now. But by the end, I felt okay because it seemed like even the scientist who was reporting on it was sort of like, hey, we're monitoring it really closely. Most likely it's not going to blow up into a full-blown pandemic and we're going to get it under control quickly, but we're just letting you know that this exists so you're not shocked.
Yeah.
But it seems like it most likely will be controlled. Oh God, we have to hold on to hope.
You have one more, right?
I do have one more, a fun
Cheer
one
us up.
to end. Honestly, even though this is like scary, it will cheer you up. I think we'll all have a nice smile on our face. But I have one final, possibly cursed object. I have another theory that we'll talk about at the end, but everybody loves a good Elmo. He's a great character on Sesame Street. Ashley and I, before the episode started, were talking about having Tickle Me Elmos, both of us in our life, and they like to say, ha ha, that tickles, and sometimes did it in the middle of the night, and we didn't like it, but it was still a harmless toy. Elmo is sold everywhere in lots of different forms, little stuffed animals to, robotic talking to you, to there's ones that can be like hooked up to your computer and programmed to say things that you want it to say. Like Elmo's everywhere. Elmo goes back a long ways. We all love him. That's Elmo. So around, let's see, I think this was in the late 90s. Yes. The Bowman family was finding an Elmo doll to purchase for their 2-year-old son during the holiday seasons. And they went to the store and they found the last Elmo Knows Your Name doll. I believe that was somewhat of the name that it was called, Elmo Knows Your Name, because it was an Elmo that, you could program to say your name and say like good morning and good night. So they got the last one, brought it home, and were able to program it to say their son James' name. They were so excited. They bring it to their 2-year-old on Christmas. James is so stoked. Him and the Elmo doll are inseparable. He's like, this Elmo says my name. Everything's great. So one day the 2-year-old is playing with Elmo and the mother is listening, like in the distance. She's in the kitchen doing something. She swears she hears the Elmo doll say, kill James. She immediately runs over, checks the Elmo, and it goes back to just saying, James, hi, blah, blah, blah. And she's looking at her son James, and he's just sort of like, yeah, what? Like, doesn't look fazed at all. So she's like, okay, I'm exhausted. I'm chasing a toddler around. It's fine. So she just goes back to her life. But a couple of days later, she hears the same thing as her son is playing in the background. She's like, am I losing my mind, or is he really saying kill James? And then maybe a day later, the family is watching TV, and out of nowhere, similar to the Tickle Me Elmo, it's just like sitting with the other toys. The Elmo doll starts singing, not just saying this time. It starts singing, kill James, kill James, kill James, kill James. The family is terrified. They immediately call Fisher-Price. Fisher-Price is like, what the hell are you talking about? That would never happen with one of our toys. They said, please change the batteries and press the reset button. You can reprogram it to just say its usual stuff again. This will not happen. So they change the batteries. They press the reset button, and it starts to say kill James even more the second time around. It doesn't even
my God.
Go back to its good mornings and good nights. It's just saying kill James, kill James. So they call Fisher-Price again. They're like, what the hell? Fisher-Price offers to give them a refund, and the Bowmans accept it, which is great of them, because I feel like I would be like, I'm going to sue you for traumatizing my son and my entire family, and you need to come do an exorcism on this doll. But they accepted the refund, and I think probably tossed the Elmo doll in a dumpster, but there's actually no follow-up article saying what they did with the doll. I can't imagine they kept it, because that's horrible. Fisher-Price says this is the only time this has ever happened, and
Sure it is.
I know, sure. But I mean, they did have to post an article, like, saying what happened, because word of this got out, and nobody, like, wrote into them saying, yeah, my doll did it too. So it does seem like it was only to the Bowman family that this happened, but it was a cursed Elmo doll that said, kill James, that hopefully, like I said, is burned up or crushed in a trash compactor somewhere. I just hope it doesn't exist, because that sounds awful.
Or maybe it's like a Chucky doll, and it was like returned and melted down to make a new doll, but instead it just reincarnated the killer Elmo doll.
So maybe now it's a killer in the form of a different toy. Like it could be like
maybe
a
or
Cabbage
just
Patch
like,
doll.
Possibly. Or just like more Elmos. We don't know.
Could be more Elmos. That makes more sense. But I like to believe that maybe it was reincarnated as like a sweet little chubby Cabbage Patch doll and is like,
you know, it was
Martha.
probably
Just kills a new kid.
It's probably a Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh my gosh. Totally a Teddy Ruxpin.
Because that guy.
That guy. That's terrifying to think about. But my logical theory, like I was saying before, I did have a theory, was that I think someone on the assembly line making these Elmos just got real bored and was like, listen, I've had a rough day. I'm sick and tired of putting the programming in these Elmos and going about my day hooking these two little cords together to make him say good morning, want a cookie, tickle me, whatever the hell. I'm going to add a little murder. I'm going to sprinkle in a little death.
So it's like the remake of Child's Play.
Exactly. It's like the new one.
It's like the new one where that's kind of exactly what happens. And it is not a Child's Play movie. No one watch it.
Yeah, please no. It's not a good film. But no, I think it could either be a true demonic Elmo and we just go with that belief, or a bored employee, whatever you want to think. But can you imagine?
No.
Just sitting and watching TV and your child's toys, kill James.
Oh, my kid's not having any toys.
Yeah, right? No toys that can talk. Like
my
none
kid's
of that,
gonna have like my dad's old Lincoln Logs and
for sure.
my old fire brigade
The fire brigade. Yeah, so far
Stuffed animals that don't speak.
That don't talk. Wilder has a lot of non-speaking stuffed animals. He likes to play with trains and he likes to play with cars that also don't make sounds. And I'm so happy with
Wilder loves playing with Winter Glove.
He does like playing with his fleece Winter Glove as well.
That is all the time we have this week for Keep It Weird. As usual, thank you so much for listening to our show. If you want to help out Keep It Weird in any way, there are many ways for you to do so. You can go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review, of which we have 200 now.
Yay! Thank you guys for getting us there.
Thank you so much for reviewing our show. You can go to patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast and donate to our show. You can go to etsy.com/shop/keepitweirdpodcast and grab yourself some merch. And you can follow us on social media at Keep It Weirdcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And join our new Facebook group. We are having so much fun on there. We're sharing weird stories and funny memes. And the more the merrier. So you should hop on.
It's a blast.
Our sign-off this week. It's really hard not having an unsuspecting guest to spring this on. We really should start planning these out.
Again, this is why we miss having guests, because it was so fun to see the look on their face when we said, "What's our sign off this week?"
And they were like, "What?"
Terrified. Who? What do I say? I was trying to think of like an Elmo. Oh my god, we're on the same page. It's literally like, what's an Elmoism?
That's weird.
Keep it weird.
Well, I wonder what else. Yeah, keep it weird. That's fine.
I'm sorry. What else were you gonna say?
No, that was it.
Like, I wonder what. Oh, bye.
Bye.
Oh god, that's so funny.
Well, we could do you, me, you. Wait, you, me, you.
Yeah,
me,
you were
you.
right.
Yeah.
Dee 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 dee.
Wah.